So summary of options from waiter offense. So when we get into waiter, we want to be curling back if we can. If Hugh's not blocking this leg, it's often a really good idea to either overhook and start to work into the single leg X, where we can even attack the Aoki lock. Or if we're underhooking the leg, to come in towards X guard. If he's blocking the leg well, then it's often very difficult to pummel into any sort of immediate X guard, but we can look to take our leg out and work in towards the 70-30 position. If I can't attach to this near leg, it might be because Hugh's driving into me a lot. That way I can reach under the leg and start to work towards a modified X guard, forcing him down onto his hands on this side and starting to get up from here. If the leg's light, often a really good option is to go towards the back. We want to roll our hips back, elevate the foot as best we can. We can go to the reverse half guard, which is where I reach to the hip and I let Hugh drop. This is a good one to start with, but you got to watch them blocking your leg. If he blocks this leg and getting underhooks, and this can be a dangerous way to approach it. So it's generally better to work for the bolo position than immediately towards reverse half. To work to the bolo position, I try to pummel my foot in front first. Once I've pummeled my foot in front, if he does try to step to reverse half, my leg's in the way, it stops him getting the underhook, and I can still work out towards the back, but in a more safe manner. Or I can climb to the back if he starts to get up. Or if he falls back, I can roll to the berimbolo. Otherwise, we can work to get our crab hook by spinning in, lifting the leg, getting the crab hook first, and then bringing the foot in front of us as we pull the hip down to take it back. From the waiter bolo position, if Hugh happens to fall to his back, I can continue to roll through and take the back with the berimbolo. So in terms of which ones to choose, in terms of going for the back, then, my main one to me is between the bolo option and pummeling the foot in front or the crab hook. Often it's just if he's blocked. Like if Hugh blocks my foot from coming in front of the shoulder, I can often still pass it underneath the leg if I can lift it. Maybe his leg's very low and heavy and it's hard to get under the leg, but I can still work underneath the armpit here. Foot in front, like so, and I can start pummeling that, okay? So I would generally go for these. Very rarely nowadays do I actually pop my head out and try to fight reverse half with all this gap that I have to give. I really want my leg coming in front if I can.
Okay. Looking at options for offense, and the first one we're looking at is going to single leg X guard. So basically, if you feel like you can get control of this leg and you can take your top foot off to place it underneath, you can probably go towards single leg X. So right now, Hugh's holding that leg. I can't get into single leg X position. I also don't have a great grip on that leg to be able to go to it yet. I almost got to it before, but now that he let go of that leg, I'm able to put it into the middle, roll my hips back, and get a good overhook. So notice now with a good overhook, it's going to be hard for Hugh to pull that away. So I can take my leg out, and I should be able to shoot it underneath for single leg X. Okay, so if you look at that again, the first, I tried a few times to put my foot in, but I'd be very careful to go for it now without a good grip on that leg. When I actually roll my hips back and get a good overhook, so just watch my arm here, you'll see as I kind of spin through, there we go. Okay, now I feel like it's probably not ideal still, but it's good. If you can get the heel just kind of stuck a little past your ribs, it's even better. But his heel's almost slipped, but I'm now able to take my foot out and pummel it underneath as this inside hook. So I basically have the single leg X position. All right, another example of going to single leg X, so rolling the hips back, again getting that overhook. So this is probably a little bit tighter. I'm able to, actually my arm's still not quite through as deep, but at least I've got the heel a bit deeper, so it doesn't look like that foot's going to slip through quite as easily. Actually now it does. Okay, that's better. So I've scooted in so that the heel's a little bit more trapped, and now my overhook's good. I just need to pummel my foot into good position. another example. And a good time to go towards this single leg X direction is when your opponent's looking to underhook. So I'm going to be moving my head away. I put my leg over the top at first to just be safe in case the underhook attacks. Now that I've kept his hips away far enough, I actually shoot my foot first there and lift with that hook to get that single leg X position. So you'll see here, I take this foot out and through. So watch my left leg. I'll take it underneath the foot in a moment. Are you ready? So we're just going to go over. Here we go. You see it snaking through underneath now. And that's going to lift his foot in the air as a little hook. So this hook will lift the leg up and into my armpit. There we go. Okay. And now I've got the single leg X position. So obviously thinking of the single leg X position as an upgrade. Here doing specific training. And I've underhooked the leg here. So I've got an underhook with my right arm. And this will actually take me into more like X guard. Okay. So the difference being if you have your underhook to start, then X guard's much more likely to be where you end up. So if you look again, I've changed to the underhook here. I've reached to the leg to stop him retracting his leg, and I've reached underneath with my right arm. It's not the best angle to see that, but we'll just watch it once more. So you see my left hand goes in, right hand underhooks, and now when I start pushing away, if I can just free my right foot back in front, that right foot comes in underneath and hooks, and then I can start working into the X guard position. So this is the far side X guard against, so Louise is standing, and so this can happen this is on the entry to waiter, but it can happen if they stand up in the waiter as well, where you can trap to this far side leg and get the X guard on the far side. So if you notice, I did start on this near leg and ended up on the far leg in that instance. So this first part's about getting into X guard, right? And the ways we go about that. Now it's looking at 70-30 entries, okay? So you see a few different options on 70-30. Similar initial start in this one to when we go into single leg X. So I'll actually pummel my foot to the inside when he's let go of that leg. So I've got freedom with my left foot. I'm going to be able to pummel that through. And then I'm going to use that inside hook to pull the leg across. Okay, so it's usually a really good idea if the foot's too shallow to overhook. All right, so if you look at that scenario again, as I lift the leg up, the foot's just kind of in. It's going to be hard to overhook with my left arm because he's already almost pulling his leg away, but it's actually easier to pull it across my body and take an overhook on this side, like that. Okay, so that's where one time the 70-30 entry, apart from, if you want to look for leg locks, I think it's a better position than single leg X, but it's sometimes a little harder to get to. So you can see I've got my foot elevating the leg. So I've got like an inside hook, and my knee could be on the outside as well. It's another way to do it, but by elevating the leg like that, kind of pushing away, I should be able to start to feed the leg across my body. Using that knee outside hook now, feeding the leg across, and that gets me to 70-30. Probably see something similar here. Elevating. This time I'm actually underneath the foot, so this is probably, I've actually been able to roll my hips back and change my grip to elevate the foot in the air. So I should be able to 2-on-1 the leg here and pass it across, and then into an 80-20 position here, so ready to attack a leg lock. This is an example. Another time you do this is when your opponent will drop down towards the ground. If you can get an overhook here, you can still start to look to get into the 70-30 position. And again, noticing my overhook, I was losing that overhook, right? So I got a good overhook, so that was really going to be towards single leg X here. But as I'm trying to adjust that and get my knee under, the foot actually slips in front of me, and it becomes a better idea to pass it across the body and go to 70-30. Okay, so it's too hard to stay attached for a single leg X, and not many places to go from there in this scenario. So feeding it across the body now gives me a good chance to attack or get on top in this scenario. Some more specific training with Ed. All right, now we're looking at back takes. Okay, so this is probably the closest to just the standard waiter back take. So you can see I don't really put my foot in front of the far lat here like I normally do. I normally want to get my foot blocking that side. It's probably because I'm doing my bad side waiter, my less good side, but I'd rather have this foot in front of the armpit, but it still manages to work. So you can see I'm going to pop my head out. In this case, I do have my knee behind the knee, but I'm going to reach towards and try and pull Ed's hips towards me. So reaching the far hip now, try to pull his hips down. I shouldn't really have to worry about a leg lock on my bottom leg as long as my top leg keeps it's going to keep him from really attaching to that bottom leg. I can always push him away with this leg as a hook. Okay, now I have to be a little more concerned, but I've got a chance to hook if I need be. Okay, so I've still got my knee free on my right leg. I'm pulling his hips over the top of me. And then I can change my feet. So now I've got basically the late stage berimbolo wedge position. Seat belt and can look to take the back. So we're going into waiter. We're going to look at another back take. So this one's kind of looser than I'd like, but it's still a good example of me trying to pummel my foot underneath the armpit here. So you'll see I'm going to lift my foot up and I put my foot, but Brad starts to turn away. He's almost like turning his back to me early, and I have to try to follow. So that hook allows me to follow behind the back. So I'm behind the hips, and I'm going to use the crab hook here. Oh no, I don't. I just managed to grab the far leg. So I managed to stay behind just by grabbing the leg. It's hard for him to turn to face me if I can pick up that leg. And that lets me roll through and ends up being like a berimbolo scramble, which I think is still a good outcome when you're starting from the waiter position. Well, this is one that I mess up, but it's actually a great way to emphasize the importance of that leg. And in this case, Sam actually does a great job at beating it. So I talk about quite a few times about I want this leg tight so that my opponent, Sam, can't get in down, like push it off and get in near my hip for the reverse half guard. And even though I keep the leg tight, he manages to pummel in front. So I should have actually kept my shin a bit tighter here. So I've got my knee tight, but he gets his arm in front in this gap. And that's going to be you'll see it becomes a real problem for me. So now his arms come in. I tried to beat that with my knee here, but his arms blocked my knee. And usually I can still win this battle if I just pinch his arm tight to his body. I can keep chasing the back, but he actually manages to snake it right through down towards my hip. And now as I chase the back, I probably should have just bailed here, but I wanted to try to take the back, and it actually gives him a chance to go towards my back. Okay. And you see I actually do the same defense to Sam. I'm going to pummel my hand across this hip here to stop him getting access. See my hand coming across? This stops him getting access to my back now. Similar counter, because he's starting to chase my back. You get that arm in front, and that actually allows me to kind of bail on the position and defend a crab ride to get out. And then you'll see me correct this. You'll see me against Sam in a moment, and I'll do a better job where I stop that arm, or at least I pinch really tight over it. Okay, here's an example of at least going for the hook. So as I spin out to the back, Ed's blocking I'm just a bit further away, so my hips are a bit far away to get right to the armpit, so I'm just going to go underneath this near knee. Okay, and you can use that crab ride hook, but then he blocks that, so I'm going to come back underneath, bring my hips in a bit closer, and look for that armpit. So I'm trying to get that foot in the good position before I really pop my head out. All right, so now I think my right leg's in front. Yeah, my right leg's now tight. You can see my shin coming up, my whole knees come through, so I'm really wedged in on that hip. And that's allowed me to work to take the back as I pop my head out. This footage, sorry, it's really grainy. Camera was on a different setting. And it gets dark in a moment as well, so we'll do our best to follow with this. Again, trying to work towards. So here I'm like halfway between what we would say is a berimbolo and the waiter. So I'm more out towards the berimbolo side, and now I'm able to get my foot across. So it started from waiter. We'll go back. I started in the waiter position. I span out pretty much all the way towards a berimbolo. So head comes through. and then foot hooks across the hip. Now when I come back, my leg's actually tight against the body. He peels that off. I have to keep battling for that position. My knee comes in. He's holding my foot, but my knee stays tight on the hip. And I can roll through. And we didn't get to see the finish of that one, but here's another example. Rolling all the way through, then rolling back. Okay, so you can sometimes roll further, get some momentum on the bowler. Here's Hugh pushing my leg off, which is a great counter. This time I'm a bit tighter with my foot hooked, and this allows me in on the hips and able to either roll to the back or to get, so I'm able to chase, coming up for a single. So you'll see these often end up in scrambles. Here I am spinning through from de la Riva into the waiter, getting my foot in front of the far shoulder and then reaching the far hip, coming out towards the back. All right, and this one again, I think I bailed to come on top to finish that one. All right, so you don't always, often these end up in like berimbolo scrambles, which are then the next stage towards the back. You can use that to come on top as well. But you'll see the two main options there, or three main options were single leg X, 70-30, and then popping out to the back, with the most common way of going to the back being pummeling in front of that shoulder.
A very common question is how to defend the footlock. Okay, so if I leave my knee high and my foot dangling, yes, you could potentially attack it, and that could be an issue. So the main thing I'm stopping that with is by pushing up with my right leg and back with my left leg. Okay, so I'm really retracting my left knee towards my chest. I've just got my heel poking over the top. I shouldn't have to worry about you attacking this leg now. Try and get a footlock. Really hard for him to pull that through. Okay, so you don't have to worry if you're here. If he does start to pull my leg through, I'll often push his leg up. See how if my knee is below the line of Hugh's leg, he can't really get a good grip. Even take a straight footlock here. You feel like you can extend into that very well? Can't really unless my knee drops in below. Now he can get his hips into it, right? Because he can use his legs behind it. But if I've kept pushing his leg up with my right leg and my left hand, I don't really feel like he can continue to attack. Now from here, if you start to twist, you can often still go for the back. So if Hugh's looking for a footlock like that, I can still look to take hooks, and as I twist, he loses, try and finish that. He's gonna lose his grip. My twist will actually take that away, and I'm still keeping his hips disengaged by keeping this hook and extending out. So to defend against the counter back takes that Mish might do as I go for the bowler, there's two ones he might do. He might reach under this leg and start to, over the top of the leg, and start to roll through and look to take the back or leg drag this way. Or if I feed my leg too deep, he might actually fall down and push it between. Yep. He might start to take my back. Okay. So this really just has to do with leg pummeling. As I start to pummel my leg, if I notice Mish is pummeling to the back of my leg here, I need to beat that. I need to retract it and put my foot back in front. Or if he does beat it, at least put my knee in to get your hand through. I want to at least put my knee in front here so that I've still got control of that space. If he gets under the knee and the foot, this starts to expose him to start to attack me. Okay, so I want to be pummeling my foot in front. That's one reason why we really want to look towards doing this. And then if your knee does go in front, don't let your foot extend too much. If I go too low down to the hips, I start to expose my back here. Okay? So that's why we want to keep our leg either shallow or higher is even better. Okay? If I'm high up here, there's no way he pushes my leg down to take the back. Right? If I go too low here, you should start to turn that over.